Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio. Journey with Grandmother Allayah as she enters her magical world of relics, sacred sites, and ancient crystal skulls. Meet with exciting trailblazer authors and individuals shifting the consciousness of humanity. Send her your questions to be answered on air on her monthly segment, Ask the Oracle. And now your host, Grandmother Allayah, in the sanctuary on the airwaves on Om Times Radio.
Welcome to Circle of Hearts on Om Times Radio. I am Allayah, your host for this hour. Welcome to my sanctuary. Welcome to the safe space. If you're listening to the show, what I bring to you in this safe space is heart energy, the journeys of beautiful souls who are expressing themselves to you through their journeys and sharing their knowledge. Before I talk to my next guest, who's a longtime friend of mine and collaborator on another network, we did a few shows together. I was telling him in my brain was going the song. I often say I don't meditate, but I listen to Reverend Yolanda's We Are Angels and his CD. And one of the important things that they say in this song, besides, we are angels struggling to be human, is can't you see yourself in me? And that's the whole point of this show. People who are sharing their hearts with you, can't you see or feel something in them that's in yourself? Because we're all one spirit. Now, I want to introduce you to Charlie Riverman Bergeron. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, Charlie, so bear with me.
Well, not to correct you, but it's Bergeron
Bergeron.
with a soft G. Yeah, Bergeron. There you go.
Okay, I've never, everybody knows my pronunciation is, I have my own way of pronouncing, so that's
It's
good.
okay. I've been called a lot of things that are a whole lot worse.
Well, Charlie and I kind of rediscovered each other in, maybe was it 2012, maybe, Charlie?
I believe so. Yeah, it's been a couple of years. Yeah,
It was a crystal, it was a webinar on with, crystal skull caretakers. And, we just realized, we kind of knew each other before. And as we got to, talking, we found out, oh, Charlie had his life experience with a NDE, and so did I. And it kept on going, oh, okay. So the more and more that we found we're so in alignment with each other that in the past year or so, we've done shows called either Heart to Soul Talks, where we take a subject and we just spontaneously, discuss it. But today, the whole point is to new listeners who's not familiar with Charlie. I'd like, for you to get to know a little bit about him and to feel him, his energy, because he's all pure heart, no ego, and he keeps me in balance.
Now you're too sweet.
No, it's true. Every time I have, a moment, I'm saying an SOS Charlie. What do you think? Get me, back down here so I'm not going crazy. All right, part of his biography, because Charlie, we'll call him Charlie the Riverman. Okay, because I'm not going to get your last name right. Describes himself as an Earthangel,
Perfect.
which opens a world of unlimited possibilities. Having had a death, or more commonly called NDE, some 23 years ago, his life began a dramatic transformation, which was not in accord with anything he imagined previously. So, when we have these NDEs, or life altering experiences, we feel reborn. Would you say that's a good way to describe this NDE? Because there's so much information out there, but it's really transformative.
Yeah, the issue for all of us that have had NDEs, and there are many that I've talked to, you've talked to, et cetera. And many of you out there have had them and maybe not had a chance to talk to anybody about them, or read books and felt uncomfortable about what they were saying about them, which was my case. But it is a returning, and when it first happens, for me, I didn't understand any of what was going on. But I came back and I could remember a little bit of my experience. And I knew in that moment that I could never forget that I had to hold on to that experience because no matter what was ever going to happen to me in the future, when I came back into my body, that this was the truth. This was the truth of who I am. It wasn't about what I was going to do, that I was back where what had happened before. But the experience itself was so fundamentally pure energy that you can't wrap your mind around it. So in the 23 years, and just like yourself, in 23 years, we've seen that unfolding and experienced it and watched ourselves change. And, in this world we say grow, but actually what we've done is we've really, as the show title was, we're emerging.
Hmm.
It's a process of emerging, which was a very good word for the name of the show, emerging from the shadows.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a wake-up call. When people use the words, so many people are in the new age world, they go, people are asleep, they're waking up. And in a way, it really is waking up. When this happens, it's a soul contract type of thing. And it's like you open your eyes and you get a glimpse of saying, oh, wow, there's something more here. I can't put words to it. I,
I know we're still trying to put words to it.
so that's why it's important for anybody and it doesn't always, I noticed lately with all this ascension process, doesn't always have to be, you got to die to wake up. People either just have a dramatic turnaround. Maybe they have something traumatic in their life that's happened. Maybe they've lost everything. Maybe it's sort of like that aha moment. Maybe they've almost been in an accent.
It's the aha. I look at it as the aha moment quantified. It's such a beautiful thing when, for me, when I see somebody get that and it's sort of like an inspiration in spirit, in a spiritual connection, and it's like wow, everything starts to change for them.
mm, it starts to make sense. It's like they may have felt things, but because of their past patterning or things that they've been exposed to, they they would go their intuition. They go, nah. You
Right,
know?
yeah, exactly. Like we all did. We all did when we did that when we were children. And then we had others who would confirm, no, that's not real. That's you can't talk to plants and you can't hug a tree and you can't, talk to the fish in the water. And it's like
Oh
I was
yeah.
doing this. I'm sorry, I was doing this.
It seems so natural,
Right.
you know, until you said it to somebody. I even know with my parents, I've talked to Charlie about this. When you're growing up, we do these things natural. And this is important to realize because with a lot of the crystal children, again, a label,
Oh
but the
yeah,
children that are coming in, they
amazing.
are doing this natural thing of, oh, I see the world beautiful. Oh, I'm going to talk to, my lovely pet here. I'm going to talk to the plants of, oh no, mom, don't throw that plastic out. You're hurting. So, you're doing something. And because sometimes the parents, they're not quite there in their awakening process, they go back to what their parents did and said, no, you're doing this all wrong. Thus the kids, they shut down. And this is what we did as kids. But the whole lesson is it keeps happening. You keep waking up. So, you embrace it. Let the kids embrace it.
Yeah, and I think when you bring up the topic of when we classify people as, Blu-rays or crystal children or whatever, they're labels.
Mm,
And and I know in this world we need labels to describe something and not necessarily to separate them from somebody else or make them better or worse or as a judgment. but just so that it's an identifying marker. And what I find is that the souls that are coming into the earth now are just so brilliant. I mean, their light is so brilliant and their wisdom is just instantaneous, and they have no fear of expressing it, which a lot of us who are listening to this, to us talk, had that same energy. We were the crystal children of that age and era.
I
But
agree.
because of the energies that are galactic, earthbound, formed and created through well-meaning but unknowingness, uh, created an environment where we couldn't express that. And this is what we're doing now. This is because of the lifting of energies within the planetary grids.
And this is, like I said, we're heading to a break. So, but
Yeah,
what
I
I
saw.
want, yeah, we're both watching the clock here.
We have to.
What I want people to think about is what we're saying is how you didn't want to be treated as a child. Try to remember this in your own children and in your own grandchildren. Um, Allow them to be, because when you allow them to be, they will be your teachers and help you remember. So, this is a thought to, ponder. Like I said, when Charlie and I talk, we never know where we're going to go, but evidently this is something that needs to be brought out, in expression. And, oh, yay, music. I was losing my train of thought there.
There you
Okay,
go.
we'll be back in a moment. Please listen to our sponsors.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Know what to do, just can't figure out how to fit it all into your busy life? It doesn't have to be that way. Hi, I'm Ellen Baisberg from Seamless Life. Join me every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio and learn the how of conscious living. Let me and my guests help make your life seamless.
The Conscious Parenting Radio Show provides inspiration and resources for loving, empowering, and respecting your children and yourself. Join me, Timothy, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we consciously explore proven ways of living together in happiness, health, and harmony.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Free your mind. Expand your soul. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Well, we're back, Charlie. Well, I was saying during break, and I'd like the listeners to also realize Charlie is surrounded by 22 crystal skulls. And I'm surrounded here by, my family of crystal skulls and, ancient relics. And, we're going to bring that up maybe a little further in the show, but we have a lot of outside energy kind of guiding us through here. But when we're going through the subject of near death, I wonder almost, I mean, people are becoming familiar with it now, but I wonder if that's, again, a label of the past. Because we
Yes.
identified that maybe 20 years or 15 years ago, with our own experiences. But maybe what the world is going through now, right? This real, chaotic time, and it's so difficult on a soul level. Maybe this is a near life experience for humanity. Is that major aha moment? It's,
I agree. I agree with you with the fact that that near death experience that we had or was labeled as such was the beginning of our becoming aware that we truly are more than just human beings. And that was the only way at that time, and leading up to this time frame, as we know, there's no real sense of time, but in the wave of energy that we call life, um, that was the only way that many of us could recalibrate. And what's happening now is because of the work of all the people who've opened their hearts to their light and their true divine presence, it's made it easier. And as a collective now, we're having this is a collective near death experience. That's how I look at it.
yeah, that's what
And
I was thinking too. Yeah, go ahead.
it's sort of a collective near death experience, but you don't have to die anymore to do this. Then it's going to just occur in your lifetime, which is really intense because for us, we were removed, so we knew there was a distinct other
Hmm.
than what we were. Whereas now it's happening for people and they're still embodied. So it's very challenging. Yet it provides an opportunity for us to assist them to make it more comfortable for them to accept in their own frame of mind and consciousness. And, you know, we become more in a partnership. It's a partnership where those of us who have had these experiences and are willing to express them openly without fear to assist others who are, listening to us and to say, maybe this isn't as bad as I think it is, because it does bring up our energy of fear.
And then we're almost like the midwives, you know,
That's a good way of putting it.
and
Exactly. Yeah.
humanity is birthing, is in labor, it's birthing into more light. It's we're being all reborn again, and it's not. We have to get rid of all the labels, scary labels of death and fear and everything. And this is where you and I have our talks.
Exactly. We've always picked a word or something and we said, let's tear this apart and let's relook at this,
Yeah.
because our words have so many meanings and some of them are very bizarre. And what we've done is attached ourselves to these bizarre meanings and started to believe them. And they're not necessarily true at all. They're just observations from a perspective in which it was limited.
Yeah, so I think it's so hard for people of all religions and paths to get rid of fear. It's so ingrained on them. Oh, you can't talk about this because people aren't going to like you, or they're not going to understand you, or um, to constantly live in fear. And I think this is what I know, sort of, Charlie and I were talking about the intention of this circle of hearts is to bring out people heart energy, and to reach out with heart energy and understanding where people can relate. Not everything logical and, brain oriented. Reach out and feel and understand. And as those words I mentioned, can't you see yourself in me? Think about your life. Um,
I always have these little props that I'm prompted when I prepare for the show. So I have all these things and I'm guided to this one, that one. And when you started out, there was one on my desktop here that says I wrote years ago, but it's called Wondrous Spirit. And what we're really essentially talking about is owning the spirit that we are, owning that presence and acting accordingly with it because it lives within our heart. It's not in our head. When we're in our head, it's really not accessible. You can get information and you can get energy from it, but it's not going to be fully functional only until we drop into our hearts and express it through our hearts. Does the spirit actually speak to ourselves and to everybody around us?
Mm.
And so the words following that was, I am but a reflection, a fractal of divinity, consciousness unfolding.
I,
And it's a very deep thought, but this is who, in essence, when we had our experiences and we went to the light or whatever we consciously can remember experiencing, this is what we brought back with us, was that confidence, even though we at first didn't trust it or know what it was, but now it's become a confidence within us because we know that that's our true existence.
and I think so many people are at this point of feeling there's something more. Even the people that are in war-torn areas. Again, I always bring out the mother energy. Look at the mothers. I mean, their sons or daughters are out being soldiers. In this country, their sons and daughters, they want safety. It's like, why do we have these wars? The mother energy, the divine mother is protecting, saying, this is not necessarily, we can all get along. It's just, you mentioned,
That can be another whole nother show
yeah, I
because
think, I think
all by itself.
that's true. That's true, Charles. But, that's again something that's being
But
pointed out
this
today.
Right. This is part of opening the heart. When we open our hearts and when we descend into our hearts, out of our heads into our hearts and express that, there can only be compassion. There can only be kindness. There can only be love because that's where it dwells and emanates from. It doesn't emanate from the head. You can think love all you want, and you can think compassion all you want, and you can think kindness. It's not going to affect anything. But when you express it from your heart, like you say, heart talks are soul to heart to soul, heart to heart. Your show, Circle of Hearts, this is what it's about. It's about learning to trust that and say, it's okay. I can express this.
Mm. It's a safe place because I've always been a big thing, had a big thing about this. The space that I've always wanted to share, whether it was in a written form or in this radio show, it's safe. It's safe to be who you are. I want people to realize that when you come in here, or join with us, Charlie and I are not teachers. We go through the same struggles that you all have. We go through in these human bodies, we get ill, we get crazy, we get the ascension symptoms, we get lack of abundance we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
we're the same.
we're experiencing this at the same time. There's no separation, and this is what we're all learning: is that the degree of separation is becoming smaller and smaller between each of us, and that is in part again because we're learning to trust. And what is it we're learning to trust is ourselves in ways that have been sort of looked down upon in a materialistic consumer environment. That it doesn't work. How can you express a, a, a life of service in a world that all it does is want and want and want and want? And so these are the dilemmas that as people awaken, and I use the word awaken, it's not one of my favorite words, but it does describe what happens when people start to learn that they're much more than they had ever imagined. And so when we do that, it's a very big process of feeling uncomfortable, and we don't have anybody to relate to anymore, which is important now with internet communication and shows like this and other talk shows and forums and places where you can learn to trust and people are not going to judge you.
That's another show too. Fear, judgment, transformation. I think we've got a lot of work ahead of us, Charlie.
Oh, we
Uh,
we do. This is, this is basically what we're and I think this show is about, is expressing how much work, and it's teaching us as well as we speak, um, how much work and how many different areas we have to play in. I look at it as play. I don't look at it as work. I'm looking for the pure enjoyment of holding somebody's hand and guiding them across the bridge. That's to me is where my heart and has come back from the light, is to be of service. And I think that everywhere around us, we're realizing and we're looking, when we change our lifestyle to a life of service, and it doesn't mean we don't get compensated for it. I mean, there is a compensation, but we become part of the abundance, and it
mm,
flows. It automatically flows because we're no longer holding anything back. We're saying, I love you, I care about you, I want the best for you. So what are we really saying? If everybody is our mirror, what are we saying? I want this too.
yeah.
So as we give, we receive. The old sayings are always there, and they have been there for thousands of years, regardless of religion, regardless of philosophy, regardless of cultural, areas, etc. They've always been there. They've been the innate core of our existence. It's just we've decided at some point we're going to do it differently.
No, it's true. I consider these shows almost like a fireside chat. When I
It is,
s-
yeah.
when I say welcome to my sanctuary, I welcome you into my home. Now we're going to talk about crystal skulls in the next segment.
They're ready.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at Om Times Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. Om Times Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. Om Times Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single Om Times endeavor. Host your show with Om Times Radio Network. Free your mind. Expand your soul. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Well, we're back again with, I'm here with Charlie. And I had to bring in the crystal skulls. Now, in the month of March, this is special March. March is
Yes.
our birthday. Charlie and I are like one day apart on our birthdays. Was really interesting. And we're
Exactly.
both crystal,
We came in right behind you, right together. That's it.
and we're crystal skull, caretakers. And everybody that's on in this month of March has some kind of connection to crystal skulls. Now, on the whole, everybody thinks of this movement with crystal skulls. It's big business. There's a bunch of new age people holding these crystal skulls on sacred sites. Nothing makes sense to them. It it's an individual unfolding. The crystal is timeless energy, a consciousness. It's an energy tool. For some of us, it helps, that trigger point, like, oh, okay, there's something more going on here. So, even myself, when I had come after my experience, and coming back, I got drawn, or spirit brought me into the world of crystal skulls. And I know my first reaction is, ooh, they're scary. Ooh, why am I, obsessed with this idea of getting a crystal skull? Well, it seems to help cement all the facets of your spirit together. How do you have any ideas on that, Charlie? I mean, you got a whole range of them with you today.
Yeah, well, it's amazing when I count them how many I actually have, and then sometimes they won't let me count them, so sometimes the count is wrong. But anyway, and then some visit. It's an amazing story, and I started with a visit to Max the Crystal Skull,
Hmm.
and I had knew nothing about crystal skulls before that at all, none, zero, and I said, well, I'm not going to study about this. I'm just going to go and experience it because through my, coming back, that's how I learned things. My brain has been damaged and had to be rewired,
Oh, I know that
and
feeling.
so I can study anything in the world and read 10,000 books on it, and I'll remember 3 sentences, and which is fine with me. I'm used to that. So I had to experience things. So I went, and that was an amazing story. I think we discussed this at one of the previous shows
Hmm.
of how he took me into his world, his domain, which is grids and energy, and took me and welcomed me like a brother. That's how I felt in the presence. And I was with two other people who had completely different experiences. One woman who was in her 90s, I believe, at the time she went there. I mean, just amazing, just an amazing experience all the way around. Highly recommend going to see Max. Anyway, with that aside, um, my skulls want me to introduce them with the crystal bowl. So here we go.
Okay.
Okay, so
I wonder if it's
that
still on the airwaves. I felt that.
I'm sure they've led me to a lot of things, and one of them it has to do with crystal energy, crystalline energy,
Hmm.
which is part of our energetic makeup, although we're not consciously aware of it. So the crystal skulls to me are like friends, and it sounds silly to the average person, but anybody out there who has crystal skulls knows exactly what I'm talking about. At first, it's an object, and then after a while, you start to get sort of intuitive messages from them. You get names. They've actually introduced themselves to me on levels, and so they have names. They change patterns of energy. Sometimes they can be masculine. Sometimes they can be feminine. So it really is just an amazing world and an amazing dimensional shift for us to consciously embrace crystal skulls. I know people who love crystals have the same kind of feeling towards crystals. But when the crystal is carved into the shape of a skull, it becomes we become more able to feel comfortable and communicate it on a level from our mind, which As a crystal, you look at a crystal and you say, okay, my mind is human and this crystal is a crystal and I can feel the energy and it's wonderful, but there's not a personal connection. When it's carved into the shape of a skull, it
Mm.
becomes a personal journey. And each one of us will express that journey differently, yet the common theme will always return back to the crystalline energy, which holds the wisdom of all of creation in it.
Which actually, when you're talking, I'm thinking people need to realize the crystal skull as an energy tool. It doesn't, don't wait from outside guidance. It's going to open you up to your own guidance. So the wisdom that's you think you're perceiving from the crystal skull, you are actually listening to yourself. Maybe they're like telephones.
Uh, yeah, it's very highly advanced telephones. I mean, if you showed somebody 100 years ago a cell phone that when they were with a rotary dial up and the switchboard operator, they'd look at you and think you were out of your mind. That
Well, people think we're out of our minds
so,
talking to crystal skulls.
but the reality is, humans have been working and talking with crystal skulls for thousands since forever.
Yeah.
This is the reality, and this is why some of the ancient crystal skulls today, they can't figure out how they were carved or who carved them because there's no tool marks. They're actually carved from things that technically shouldn't have been carved in that shape, etc. I mean, there's just so many anomalies to crystal skulls that can't be scientifically proven or disproven.
Sort of like, no, I was going to just before I lose the thought and then let you continue.
Nope.
Uh, from what I've seen or being shown, is the crystal light as a consciousness almost went into a lower frequency, which made it more malleable. Almost they could mold it. The people, the souls, or the technology, whether it was ET or just advanced technology or understanding at the time, they could mold it into a thought form.
Well, I look at things when people talk like yourself who have worked with ancient crystal skulls. I really pay attention because I only know my experience. And what I look at is that people and mine are all modernly carved skulls. However, the crystals are,
Are
are ancient.
timeless. Yeah,
Exactly. They're as old as the planet is. So let's get on with that. So
right.
the reality is that's what we're talking about. That essence doesn't it's not affected by weather. It's not affected by human thought. It's not affected by anything other than itself. And so, yeah, that wisdom that comes through is a communication sort of network to all kinds of multidimensional things. And that takes us into the realm of the multidimensionality of ourselves and the crystal beings.
Mm.
Okay. And so, from our journey in humanity, as we separated ourselves from a more common knowledge of this, and we separated, I'm not believing that anymore. I'm going to go do this, and we're not going to do this, and we're going to create stories and follow the stories. As we did that, we separated ourselves from this whole conscious awareness of the ability of ourselves, the innate DNA ability to communicate with things that are not flesh and blood, and etc. And we've believed it so much now that we're trapped. We're enslaved by how we judge things and look at things and say, this is the way it is. So the first thing with crystal skulls is they open up your senses to saying, hey, there's more than just this, what we call reality here in the third dimension. So they're great tools for opening people to their intuitiveness, to their own energy patterns within their bodies. I mean, I use them, for pain. I use them, for healing. I use them to communicate with, there are so many uses for crystals and the crystal skulls that it's boundless.
Did it? But it almost brings us back to full circle. We were talking before about how, as children,
Hmm.
we were so aware. I mean, we could look at the sky. I mean, I know I used to look at the sky and used to see people or visions, and there's so many of us that we shut down, and the children coming in. I mean, this is normal for them. And sort of the crystal skulls are sort of adult reconnections
Yeah,
to
they're
what
the
we were as when we first entered
right.
incarnation.
They're part of the rewiring system. They're part of the regridding of our energy systems and balancing. And that's the other side of it is it's about balancing our energy and the energy of that's universal energy, so that it works together in harmony. Uh, and that's why I say when the skulls can sometimes be masculine or feminine. I've had which is for some people sounds very strange, but I take them when I go to have a massage because my massage therapist is open. I take them when I go polarity, and I've had actual sessions with the skulls while somebody's working on me. I'm not there. I'm with the skull
Hmm.
and the skull, and there's all kinds of things going on, and I will come back and express that to the person, the practitioner that I'm with, and they'll say, "Wow, I saw that."
So
Now
maybe
I'm not
they're portals.
exactly, so I'm not just making this up in my own head. It actually is occurring, and other people are witnessing it.
Now that's amazing. So we've given people open your minds and think on these things. We'll be back in a minute.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Simone Milasas would like you to know that business can be fun, which is why she wrote the book, Joy of Business. What if you could have the joy of business rather than the stress and struggle? Most of the time, the only thing stopping you from a thriving business is you. In the Joy of Business book, Simone gives you access consciousness tools and pragmatic ways to get out of your own way and to create the business, life, and living you know is possible and beyond what this reality says is achievable. Business is joy. It's creation. It's generative. It can be the adventure of living. You can purchase your copy of the book through Amazon or Joy of Business website, www.accessjoyofbusiness.com.
Hi, my name is Monica and I'm the host of Co-Creating Now. Give yourself an opportunity to connect with your all-knowing higher self and manifest joy, love and peace together every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on Om Times Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Free your mind. Expand your soul. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Well, we're back, Charlie. Can you believe how quick this hour went?
It is. It's phenomenal. I just start talking and it's like over again. What's
I know. That's why we're going to have to, get you back quite a few more
It's good.
times.
It's good. No, it's all good. And the one beautiful thing that I always love to express to people is that you and I talk from the heart, and we don't plan this. We don't sit, we don't sit and say, "Well, I'm going to talk about this." And no, you set the intention that it was going to be emerging from the darkness, and I sat and said, whatever that means, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah, and then, like I said, people don't realize, want to emphasize just what he said. When we do these talks, there's no prep. We just say, okay, we're going to open our mouth, and wherever it goes, it's just something that may be needed to be put out there. Do we have these immense egos that we're saying, oh, well, we're sharing this knowledge? No.
No, unfortunately not, because half of it I'm looking at, and I listen to it later. Says, where the devil did that come from?
Yeah.
And then I look and I just say thank you, because this is the beauty. This is the beauty that I think you and I and other people who share this experience of opening our hearts and receiving these energies, whether they be crystalline or filled with light or however it's appearing to you. This is your individual journey. If there's anything I can say to anybody, it's your journey that's important. It's not my journey, and it's not Allayah's journey. We're just thrilled to be here and go and being part of this journey. And like many of us out there, we want to hold your hand. We want to dance with you. We want to hug you. We want to love you. We want to send you light and peace and love, because this is what it's all about. This is, back in the 60s, this was like a dream, that you smoked it.
That's true.
I mean, that's the only way you could get there. There were some beautiful communities, but most of the time you had to do something to get there. Right now, I don't do any drugs. I don't drink any alcohol. If I have an addiction, anything, it's caffeine, but that's okay. We're human, and the reality is we're just filled with love and light, and wanting to share it with others and help. It's just so enjoyable. The word joy. One of my crystal skulls is named Joy, and Joe. Then that's what it's about. It's about the joy of living. That in the midst of all this chaos, in the midst of all this violence, there's joy.
We go back into, like I said, you got two old hippies on this show.
Yeah, we've been there.
And the 60s was a period of, the 50s, there was a lot going on. You had the war in the 40s, and 50s, people started finding themselves. In the 60s, you had love and joy.
Our activism came from the 50s, breaking free from racial prejudice and war mentalities. That's where our activism came from. And then the 60s, yeah. So it's progression.
And we're returning to that, and the whole thing, I was just going to bring up a point to laugh at, is Charlie said, in the 60s, I didn't do drugs either. I was one of these prim and proper people. But, now in the 2000s here, we don't have to do the drugs. We got crystal skulls.
Well, well, I suppose you could look at it like that. The reality is that we don't need anything outside of ourselves to really do this. And what we do need is just an open-mindedness to open the mind up. And when we facilitate the Course in Miracles, it's always about, the ego and blessing the ego. Now, you don't want to kill the ego mind. We created that. But blessing it and saying, here's your place. This is what you're in charge of, but you're not in charge of me. I am a divine being. You can't be in charge of me. You don't have the ability. You're a beautiful, wonderful thing. But you can't control me because I'm part of all of creation. This is where we expand, and this is where we, what Crystal Skulls help us do. What radio shows with people who are going through this journey do for us. We're all part of this magical, beautiful process.
We're reaching out, like you said, Om allowing us, to have this space, they follow their divine intuition, the creators of Om Ezine and Humanity Heals, and they expanded it one step further. And they keep on expanding. I can't even keep up with them. But, to have the radio show now are the soul journeys of people that come on here, their heart energy, their voices. We can reach out to people across the oceans, and they can feel us and we can feel them. I find
It's
it.
part together. It's part of the partnership. As I said when I in the earlier part of the show was the card was about partnership, and that's how I feel that all of us together are partners in this. It's not just me. It's not you. It's not what we say is what we say, and what we experience is fine. But each one of us have these experiences, and when I can get somebody and I can read they're speaking from their heart, or they're actually talking from their heart, it so resonates with me, and it just enhances me and inspires me to even be more open and more trusting of things that I my wisdom, or not my knowledge can't explain. My wisdom knows it. My wisdom is always there. That's forever. But my knowledge, my personal knowledge, it sometimes I don't know, and it's okay not to know. And that's one thing that my 23 years of this is, it's okay not to know that somebody out there does. Somebody else there knows exactly what you're looking for or what you need. And they will come to you when you truly ask, and they will appear before you.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's spiritual, the connections that are made. I mean, even the listeners that, have come and listened to us
mhm.
is because something drew them. It's like, okay, just exactly what you said. Something that we might say might touch their hearts, and if it's been bothering them, they go, "Oh, somebody understands this. They understand me. They know what I'm going through." And this is the exciting part of, having a show. It's not like, oh, I'm patting on my head, I got this ego. No, it's sharing.
And it's sharing, and that's why I like to listen to others come on and speak about the same thing. So this is, as you sort of said in the beginning, an introduction to who am I. I'm everybody. I'm your mirror. You're my mirror. When we're all here together and we're all going to make this happen, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is, because as long as it's from our hearts rather than from our heads, we're going to manifest wonderful, wonderful things. There's a future for humanity that is beyond compare,
Mm,
beyond something that we can even think about. I'm gonna read a little poem because I write
sure.
poetry, and that's another side of me. And this one's called "A Translucent Dream," and it goes like this: Heart pounding with joy, traveling into a vortex of love, surrounded by the beauty that glistens ever so softly, head reeling in perfumes of sensuality beyond compare. Your invitation to surrender is intoxicating every cell of my being. Auras emanating your magnificence capture my perception and stretch time into filaments of unimportance.
Yes.
That's how I see each one of you. Each one of you are just beautiful souls. And I can't um, ever not be grateful for each and every one of you on this planet.
It's, I love that you came on and that people could hear your voice and hear your laughter, because you make me laugh. Because I'm far
Oh
too
yeah.
serious.
Oh well, no, yeah, you gotta be. Can't take yourself too serious. We're silly beings. Yeah.
But we'll definitely gonna have other times that, like, Charlie says, we get a subject, maybe fear, and let's break it apart. Let's put it put it in front of a lamp here and see what is, really going on. So, like I said, the hour goes so quickly. but we've touched upon, you can feel Charlie's energy, and he and I work together like this, so
Right, we do, and if wise, and we just do our silly things together. We do it separately, and then get together and look and say, "Wow, that all flowed. How did that
yeah,
happen?"
yeah,
Duh. Hello.
yeah, yeah, you don't realize how many doves
I know.
we
Like,
say.
wow. Did we really say that? Did we really do
Yeah,
that? Silly us. I'm going to read one more poem. You get 2 minutes. Looks like on the clock. It's called
okay.
"Love Surround," and it's sort of a blessing. Well, it is a blessing. Of course, it's a blessing. All things are blessings. May the mysteries of love surround you, encasing you in a translucent ball of light, wrapping your soul in satin and silk, forever presenting you with sparks of bliss to ignite the passion that you are. Let that passion lead you to the pastures of life, where joy and peace abide, letting you forget the pain and the suffering of the road you have traveled. Allow that gentle pasture to caress you with her embrace and sing to you. Never forget you are loved. Never feel you are abandoned, for you are more precious than you will ever know.
That's beautiful, Charlie.
Oh,
Now,
amen.
I was gonna say,
Okay,
I'm
I'm
trying,
done.
yeah, no, not forever. You're just for this quick hour. Oh, chicks. I want to briefly say next week we got Nicholas Pearson, who's going to bring in the scientific and the science of crystals, and also the crystal skulls. So, Charlie,
Awesome.
have a happy birthday,
Happy birthday to you, love.
and we'll
I
be
love you, darling.
same here, and we'll be
Okay.
talking soon again.
Okay.
Bye bye.